Greetings folks and welcome to another OrchestraTemplates.com gear overview. I hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. I'm Tobias from OrchestraTemplates.com, where you'll find custom template solutions for working composers. There's a bunch of very interesting performance controllers on the market with some very good innovations. The search for the best way to make virtual instruments truly tactile is a worthy endeavor, and every now and then something truly new comes along. One such thing is Touché, coming to your studio space from Expressive, headquartered in France. This controller wants to be an extension of your hands and works in tandem with existing input devices, usually a MIDI master keyboard. As usual, here's a disclaimer. Expressive generously provided a Touché to me to give it a spin in my work. This video was my own idea though, and it is in no way influenced or screened by Expressive and represents my own personal and honest opinion. Let's have a look at the hardware, which comes in this very nice box. We are looking at the regular Touché here. There was also a slightly simpler version called Touché SE that we will look at a bit later. The unit itself is hefty with a good solid feel. The main part that draws the eye is what Expressive calls the touch plate, literally a wooden or plastic plate that you can touch, which is the general principle of how the Touché works. The plate can be pressed down on the front and on the back, as well as moved to the left and right, offering 4 unique degrees of freedom to control whatever the Touché is set to send to. Front and back can be used at the same time together with either left or right, offering 3 individual controller dimensions at any time with just a single input. Before we look at how all this works, let's remove the touch plate, which comes right off with a bit of pressure. The pink cylinder controls how hard the touch plate goes down and also serves as a resistant weight to pressure. The company offers multiple types of cylinders to adjust the action to one's liking, though I found the default cylinder absolutely perfect. The slider controls the resistance the Touché offers when moving the touch plate left or right. This setting is very useful when switching between instruments, and it is good to have it adjustable with this big and easy to use slider. The lower part has an endless rotary encoder, which is used to adjust the general sensitivity of the Touché. Similarly, 2 very big buttons to the left and right below the encoder switch between presets. The back of the Touché has the USB port prominently in the middle for connection to your PC or Mac, as well as 4 CV outputs for use with hardware that supports it, plus MIDI in and MIDI out connections that are to be used with the included special MIDI connection cables. This is also the point to have a quick look at the Touché SE, the smaller version of the Touché. While it is at first glance identical with its bigger brother, the SE version comes with a polycarbonate touch plate instead of mahogany like the regular Touché. I would not call that a big drawback, if one at all. The playing field is quite similar, and in any case the touch plates are exactly the same size and thus interchangeable. Expressive offers a number of different wood options as accessories, and even if you have a SE, no one prevents you from just ordering a wooden touch plate on the side. The big difference is that the SE does away with most of the connection options on the back. What remains is only the USB port, which is completely sufficient for most PC or Mac-based workflows. I consider this a good trade-off and a very sensible place to save money. After all, while the Touché retails at $399, the SE can be yours for a paltry $229, a very substantial saving and one that is not bought by a lot of lost features. But for one, and that one might be a biggie. More about that not very much later, because all this drooling over the shiny hardware brings us to the software. It's all a lie, or rather a lie. Keeping with Expressive's love of using accents in their product names, the software that drives most of what the Touché can do is called lie. Lie acts as a wrapper for existing plugins that load directly into it. Properties of these plugins can be directly mapped to any of the axes on the Touché, or even multiple properties on the same axis. You can map up to 8 parameters to any axis or combination thereof you desire. These mappings can then be saved as a preset in Lie and called up again later, including the exact state of the plugin instance they belong to. This makes it possible to, for example, set up a specific instrument configuration in advance and reload it later with ease. The process is dead easy with any plugins that support host automation, with parameter names clearly laid out and a very handy speed mapping feature. You can even adjust start points and reaction curves. Things change a tiny bit when you are dealing with a plugin or a patch inside a plugin that does not support host automation, but relies on MIDI automation, or that does not show descriptive parameter names. If the instrument supports host automation but just does not show parameter names, you can make do by just knowing what controls what and doing assignments directly in the plugin. But when an instrument does not support host automation at all, Lie loses some of its appeal as a host for plugins. When Lie loads a plugin, it will always send host automation and cannot be made to send MIDI CCs. This now is where the regular Touché and the Touché SE differ greatly. The Touché has 24 so-called hardware presets, which send freely assignable MIDI CCs. These presets can be set up in Lié and serve permanently on the device. The Touché SE has only one of those MIDI presets. By default, the Touché and SE use 4 MIDI CCs. CC 16 is down, CC 17 is up, and CCs 18 and 19 are left and right respectively. When dealing with instruments, and of course actual hardware, that only support MIDI CCs, on a Touché SE you are best advised to map the desired parameter in your instruments to the 4 standard CCs, as you cannot easily change them per instrument in Lié without overriding the setup for all other instances. This is of course a bit of a hassle, as you'll likely have to adjust a ton of default MIDI CCs the manufacturer set on their instruments. On the regular Touché you have 24 presets, which you can use to save 24 different default MIDI CC mappings. This is enough to make presets for your commonly used instruments, but if you need tons of different mappings, you'll reach the limit quickly here too. Essentially because of the SE's inability to have multiple MIDI CC setups, the SE is best suitable when you want to control host automation capable plugins. For anything that requires MIDI CCs, the big Touché is the better choice. Because the Touché is very much a performance controller dependent on having instruments that have been set up to use it by assigning appropriate controllers to all 4 axes, Expressive have made sure there is plenty of factory content to choose from, all hosted inside Lié using the UVI engine. Let's noodle through a few of them with Lié open so you can see the movements. Expressive have also created their own line of physical modeling strings called Touché. There's that accent again. These fully utilize the specific capabilities of the hardware and are really intended to work with it exclusively, though you can technically load them in your sequencer on their own. Here's a quick overview, with a full walkthrough doing them justice coming in the future. Now that we have seen how the Touché works with its official content, let's look at what we can do with it in a more traditional context, using some articulations from Orchestra Tools Berlin strings. Here the Touché is in MIDI mode, so it sends its default CC 16 to 19, which you can see lighting up here on the left in Context's MIDI Automation tab. What I've also done is load the Celli Longs multi and the Celli Staccato single articulation patch from Berlin strings. I made a few changes so that the different axes on the Touché control different parameters inside Kontakt. The x-axis is controlled by CC 19, the y-axis is controlled by CC 17. The dynamics response I've set to CC 16, and finally the staccato patch can be made to fade in with CC 18. Combining these assignments and using Capsule's CC Crossfade 2D feature, which allows you to load 4 articulations like this in a grid, when I press down on the Touché, the velocity changes. When I move the touch blade to the right, the sound will change from sustain immediate with dramatic vibrato seamlessly to no vibrato. When I press the top of the Touché, the sound will change from sustain immediate to tremolo. Moving the touch blade to the right and pressing the top will move to trills. And finally, moving the touch blade to the left will trigger staccato. As you were able to see, because the Touché sends regular MIDI CCs, it can be made to work easily with any plugin or hardware, and does not require major setup. It can also run alongside any other input devices quite well and fit into existing projects and templates, precisely because it does not require any special setup for the basic functionality. Even the big version of the Touché costs a manageable $3.99, and the street price often drops way below that. At that price point, and with the easy-to-grasp performance features and setup, the Touché is a stellar way to add a new performance controller to any composer's arsenal. The unit does not take up a lot of space, and is intended to be used alongside your existing MIDI keyboard. This way it does not require you to learn a whole new instrument just to determine the pitches of notes, and is fully reserved to be as expressive as possible. Build quality is extremely good, and it stands to expect that the Touché will last you for a very long time. The liaise software is well built, and I have encountered no issues with it. Even if for whatever reason you are not inclined to use the wrapper, for example because you do not want to lose compatibility with systems that do not have liaise installed, or if you rely on sharing projects with colleagues a lot, the MIDI-CC mode works completely fine. If you go that route though, you'll need the big Touché, because it supports 24 such MIDI presets as opposed to only one on the SE. Out of the very large number of MIDI performance controllers on the market, the Expressive E Touché is currently the one I find most innovative, inspirational, and most worth getting to know. I hope you enjoyed our little journey into the Expressive E Touché. Make sure to hit that like button if you did. Let me know your thoughts and feedback in the comments, and of course I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. Make sure to stop by orchestratemplates.com for more template-y goodness. Take care and see you soon.